Hi, I'm Dan with Autoality. Today we're going to be looking at the Rupe air-jet cleaner. You know, what is it? How does it work? A couple things to look. When you look inside the box, you're going to see it just like this. It's the air-jet cleaner itself, and then you have a vacuum attachment. One thing which is kind of nice is it's all modular, so you can kind of take it apart. You're going to see 4 connections like this, and chances are one of these connections should work with your vacuum. This is just a traditional rigid vacuum, and if I were to look here, I just attach, and there we go, okay? So a couple other things to look at. If you don't want the vacuum attachment, probably the easiest way, take this end cone off, unscrew the horn, and it has a fine thread, so there's quite a few threads on there. And then you unscrew this. This comes out, and you can use it just as a traditional gun without vacuum assist. Now, the nice thing I think about the vacuum assist is it's going to keep dust down in your environment, make it much cleaner for yourself. But if you look, the way this is actually situated, when this is down on the surface, this gun is here. So you're kind of at a 45-degree angle. Okay? And I think we've had numerous people who have commented, they're like, hey, you don't want that thing flat. And really, you're blowing at a 45-degree angle for maximum efficiency, but you want this flat in order to use the vacuum feature to its most effectiveness. Also inside that box is a little clip, which you can put here. You can actually attach it here, and you can actually hang your gun, right? Keep it from falling. So a couple things we're going to take a look at. I'm going to put this thing here back together. We're going to look at how it cleans out pads. And then we're going to look at what it does for cleaning out like a dirty floor mat or a dirty interior. You know, you can use extractors, and then the other thing I've noticed too, that goes in, if you want to easily access the cone, take this end off. Just slide that in there. And the threads are very fine, so it takes a bit to get it screwed on there. Just make sure everything's nice and straight, and go ahead and screw it in. And then you can tighten this up to then keep this from just free spinning, and then put the back on, right? So again, you can see that you are not keeping that thing completely straight. Another thing that we've gotten some comments on, this requires 6 CFM of air, or says it requires 6 CFM. If you look at our compressor, it's a 4.5 CFM compressor, and we'll look at comparisons between the Vortex as well as the Rupe air-jet. This says it requires 4.5 CFM, this says it requires 6 CFM. The difference is how much air actually flows through it. So yes, this will use more air, but it'll also do more work. So we'll try to demonstrate that as we're looking at it. So let me actually hook a few of these things up. We have air hooked in here. We have a vacuum hooked in here. Okay, so if I just want to use the blow feature, I can. Okay, or I can use the vacuum. So these pads have been sitting around for quite some time. I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to add a little bit of moisture just to kind of loosen up. And you can see it cleaning the pad. Now, a couple things to note. Look how quickly, and this pad's been sitting for quite some time. We did a training session earlier this month, so really this should have been cleaned initially, right? But look at what a great job it did. You can see the difference in fluffing up the fibers, really cleaning the pad. And the other nice thing about it too, it isn't soaked, it isn't wet. Maybe a little bit damp in that situation, but you can see how that microfiber almost looks perfect, right? So that's the vacuum attachment. You know, could you actually blow this into a box fan? Yeah, you sure could. But you know what? Not everyone's going to have the space or want to take the time to actually blow it into a box fan. So this is kind of an easier way to just clean that pad and make it looking fresh and new, right? So what happens if we're dealing with sand, carpets, we use this one because this one's pretty gnarly, bunch of stuff on it. So again, same thing. If I'm going to want to clean that carpet, I just turn the vacuum on. And by the way, this is just dry. There's no chemical. All I'm using is the vacuum and the air. Off. So then if you look, and you can see, because there was dirt in there, there was sand in there. Now keep in mind, I didn't add any chemical to that. And as you can see with closer inspection, these are actually out of my car. We were at the beach up on Lake Erie, so I know that's one thing as detailers, we know we do not like sand. So certainly I don't appreciate when my daughter and wife get sand all over the car, but as we can see here, that looks really good, right? And basically I found that I needed about 2 drags across there, so very effective. So it's not just for pad cleaning. You can also use it on carpets, floor mats, what have you, right? So I'm gonna unhook this real quick and take this apart and try to give you an understanding. And you can see everything that came out of that floor mat. Pretty crazy, right? Look at that. So all this can be taken apart to clean it. But take a look at what that actually brought up. Right? And that's just standard dirt. So I think the best thing about it is the fact that you're not introducing moisture. And again, I didn't introduce any moisture into that. And truthfully, I wasn't expecting that much to come out of there. But I think that's a perfect example of how much gunk was literally inside there. Now, if I didn't have the vac attached, I could actually just take this, stick it in a bucket of water, and it would self kind of clean it out. But we're doing this real. You're watching this as I am doing it, right? So again, same thing. You can see the cone. I'll just wipe that off real quick. Pretty crazy how much dirt that Venturi effect actually produces. And I'm just going to screw this together because some of you may not want the vacuum attachment. So I'm going to screw that back on. And then I guess a perfect So I could use it with a vacuum attachment, or I could also just use it itself. Could I blow it out like that? Yeah, some would argue, well, maybe this is more effective than this, and it might be, but here's the thing. With this, you're blowing stuff all over the car. With this setup, you can see just how much junk I pulled out of that, and I'm not blowing around the car. I'm self-containing it into this system, right? And you can just take it out, rinse it out in the sink, whatever you need to do, okay? So as you see, and I don't 100% know how to, if I am blowing right there, and let me just make sure I have enough pressure. You get a little bit, Russ. So again, now, if I go here, I don't know if you notice, but because this requires 4.5 CFM, and this requires 6 CFM, there's just more volume of air getting pushed through this. So it's a little bit faster, okay? So But really, you know, that's what we wanted to talk about, because again, there were a couple people who I had noticed had made some comments, you know, hey, we weren't using this thing correctly, and like I says, if you imagine that being centered in there, you're at a 45-degree angle, roughly, when you're using this, right? You don't have to use the vacuum, as we talked about, but really a great tool for not only cleaning pads, but for doing floor mats, interiors, carpets, all those other different types of things. It can run on, again, 4 different back attachments. So I just chose to use a standard rigid because I figure most of you will be using standard rigid vacuums. It is available at Autoality. It's shipping right now. So you know, you can get our 5-star customer service if you order it. Remember, any order that comes in, I always say 3 o'clock, T and Russ always say 4 o'clock, but if you put it in by 3 and we have it in stock, it will ship that day. And depending on where you're at, that may be a tomorrow delivery or several days out. All of our deliveries are with FedEx. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Again, Dan from Autoality.